What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today I want to talk to you on SoFi. Right now, SoFi is getting pulled in either direction. The market wants SoFi to go down as a result of CPI, but SoFi put out some pretty good news that's kind of causing it to go up. So I'm going to go over all the things that you need to know for today. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. SoFi is currently down 3.12%, and that is because of good old CPI. So CPI did go up both on a month-over-month and year-over-year. So 3.1, that's what the year-over-year was. Forecast was 2.9, and on the month-over-month, it came in at 0.3 versus forecast being 0.2. So not necessarily the best, but then again, as I've said in the past, it's one thing just looking at this information. You kind of have to look at the finite details, but even these finite details, not necessarily the best, because the energy basket did go down 0.9, meaning the other basket items did go up quite dramatically. So this isn't the best. I'm going to play a video near the tail end. It's analysts kind of talking on CPI and why the market in essence is overreacting to it. So again, that's kind of a positive thing. Aside from that, SoFi did post this yesterday on Twitter, social medias, and whatever else, more of an Easter egg. And the market absolutely loves Easter eggs. It was kind of fair to assume that there was a basketball in relation, so maybe NBA or whatever else, but turns out that was what was announced this morning. So first on CBS Mornings, SoFi, the new official banking partner of the NBA. And plus it does show, I guess they had a new partnership with Boston Celtics star, this guy right here, Jason Tatum. So yeah, kind of good stuff in reality. So I feel like this definitely is going to get SoFi's name out there as the official partner. And now with SoFi Stadium as well, they're kind of hitting a lot of the masses out there, right? So I think generally speaking, this is very, very good for SoFi and should really incentivize a lot more individuals to kind of move over, and so member growth and whatever else will continue. So I see this as a very positive thing in my opinion, and even enough so that shorts are returning. So shorts are completely laughing at the broader market right now, but in SoFi's case, they're returning 507,000 shares. So generally speaking, that is very good. 16.54% of the free float is being shorted, 150.81 million shares overall are being shorted, and cost to borrow average is 0.93%. It is to note, it's been a good week and a half, almost 2 weeks, since we have seen the cost to borrow minimum go negative. So whoever that broker is has kind of cut out their crap that they've been doing. And one thing I just wanted to point out quickly going over here, the technicals, even though SoFi is selling off, the L8 wave technicals are still good because it does have the pivot point being $7.18. So for as long as SoFi is above that, then these technicals or price predictions are still valid. And one thing to note as well while I am on here, I didn't really see this announced anywhere, but SoFi is going to be participating at the UBS Financial Services Conference. So most likely there's going to be a fireside chat associated to that. So that is going to be on February the 26th at 12:50 exactly Central Time. So definitely mark your calendars for that. But moving on, looking at options, $4.69 million in calls being purchased versus 1.87 million in puts. Sentiment wise, a little bit more evenly divided, but 50% of all the options being done today are bullish. And of the call options that are being purchased, there's a consensus for it to be over $9. So clearly, people just do not care about the CPI that came out. They know that bigger and better things are going to be coming for SoFi. That's just how I interpret this. Looking at puts though, you do see it more so below. It looks like 750. So once again, as I've been saying, even though it is selling off, the risk versus reward definitely is in favor on the longs. But quickly moving on though, looking at some support and resistance points with it at $8.10, still between this pivot and this R1. So $7.98 is a very strong support, and then $8.32 is going to be the next strong resistance. So let me know your thoughts. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? So I just wanted to quickly play 1 minute of this video because it does kind of take into account the recent CPI data and why the broader market might be overreacting.
This morning's inflation print raising some fresh questions for the Fed and, of course, the timeline of potential rate cuts ahead. We want to bring in our Steve Leisman with his take on the print, having had a couple of hours here, Steve, to dig through some of the internals.
Yeah, and Carl, I don't think the Fed is going to be as freaked out about this number as perhaps the market is. If you look back, we pulled a quote from Susan Collins last week, And she's just used the word bumpy the way a whole bunch of other folks use the word bumpy. She just says, look, this is, we think it's going to come down. I expect the inflation slowdown will happen, but the timing is difficult to predict and the road may well be bumpy. This is what the Fed expected. I think what I see this morning is the market coming closer to the Fed. I don't think also, Carl, it's time to write off the idea that inflation is going to be slowing from here. There's a lot of January effects in here. The problem is I can't be proved right about this for another month or two.
Do you think the OER number is suspicious?
Not suspicious. It's just the way it's calculated. But you know, you hear the same things. You and Sarah both do the same things that I hear, that all the market-based numbers show this thing coming down. It's not going to translate it to the PCE. I will say, though, don't rest your hopes on that February 29th PCE number, because what I'm hearing is that some of what we're seeing in the CPI will spill over into what's expected to be a still elevated and maybe a little bit hot PCE number. But you know what's happened now, Carl? Remember the number that nobody ever paid attention to, the distant cousin, or the one nobody really liked? That PPI number on Friday now becomes the most important number out there because of the way that feeds into the PCE. And
so yeah, ultimately, there you have it. With the current data points that is coming out, it was anticipated by the Feds, so not really anything to worry about. So the previous guidance that they have talked on in the past, like, the market is just overreacting in one sense. So let me know your thoughts on the CPI data that did come out. Do you think it's something to worry about? And what have you been doing with SoFi? Do you think that it's going to get back to around the 850s where it was? Or do you think it's going to retrace back with the broader market? Surprisingly enough, SoFi seems to be one of the very few stocks that is starting to recover, and I do feel it has something to do with the recent announcement regarding the NBA. So let me know your thoughts on that as well. Is there some other aspect that I am missing that potentially could really help SoFi in regards to NBA? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.